in less than 2 years, the perfect society will exist. And once everyone's used to it, they're not going to want to turn back. We are going to talk about the perfect society today. I'm going to give you all the nuts and bolts of it and tell you what it's all about and why it's going to make America and the world so much better than it is now. Before we start, I have a couple things though. I'm going to ask you questions, and they're going to be easy. They're going to be softball questions. You don't have to answer them if you don't want to, or if you don't know the answer, that's fine. I will answer for you, not in your voice or in your head. I'll just answer the way I would answer. Okay.
Okay.
But you'll probably find that most of these are super easy and you'll be able to answer them. And they're just questions for understanding because, truthfully, I could tell you the perfect society in 5 minutes. It is that simple. A 10-year-old could grasp it. However, I find that most people like to kind of have some of the things filled in, a little bit more information. So that's why I ask questions. And they're not going to be gotcha questions or debate questions. They're just going to be conversation. Okay, so let's get into it. So what the perfect society that I'm going to explain to you is not a brand new system of culture and government, meaning we don't need to tear down America, tear down the government, and start from scratch. Everything we currently have in culture and society can stay exactly the way it is with a couple of very small tweaks. And it's the small tweaks that gets us to the perfect society. And surprisingly enough, America is almost there. Like, we're not that far from a perfect society. A lot of people probably think we're really far away, but we're really not. All we need is a couple of small changes. And with those small changes, we can get there in 2 years or less.
Oh, wow.
So in 2 years or less, we have a perfect society. If America wants it. I want it, and a lot of people I talk to about this want it, but we'll see. And you will find, well, I have found, rather, 90% of the people that I talk to about this, that I have these conversations with, they are immediately on board. Half of them are just super excited and want to start now. The other half are like, well, I love it. I just don't know if the rest of America's going to love it. That's cool. Don't worry about the rest of America. Worry about yourself. Now, if you happen to be in that 10% that doesn't dig what I'm going to tell you, that's totally, totally cool. Everybody's welcome in the perfect society. And when we have the perfect society, that 10%, they're going to realize how cool it is. And very quickly, they're going to be on board. All right. Okay. You ready?
Yes.
Okay. Now, first question. Would you agree with me that everybody wants to rule the world?
I definitely think people have their opinions on how they think the world should be ruled.
But they might not physically want to run it, right?
Right.
I agree with you. And by the way, we have a little over 8 billion people in the world. So let's just say 8 billion to make it simple.
Okay.
You would agree with me that 8 billion people have 8 billion different opinions on how the world should be ruled, right?
Yeah.
You cool with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, what happens if we ask 8 billion people how the world should be run? What are you going to get?
8 billion different answers.
8 billion different answers, because we're all individuals. Now, within those 8 billion, you're going to get some commonalities.
Right.
Really dive deep, we're going to get 8 billion different opinions. So whose should we pick?
It's a dangerous question.
An impossible question. We can't pick one. Why?
Because then you'll get a lot of very angry people.
Totally. You'll get 8 billion minus 1 people that's not really happy with it.
Right.
So the perfect society that I'm going to explain is global. It applies to any city, any village, any county, any state, any province, any country. But for the ease of our conversation, I'm going to talk about the United States because I was born here. I was I grew up here. I think I know, well, I know American culture and government more than I know any other country. So I'm going to talk about the United States, but everything we talk about applies to every other country. Okay.
Right.
So let's drill down. You ask 8 billion people, you get 8 billion opinions. So it's really not efficient. In the United States, we have about 340 million Americans. So if you ask 340 million Americans, even those kids, you ask an 8-year-old, you ask a 10-year-old, these days, a lot of kids that young are a little bit politically savvy. They're a little bit culturally savvy. Why?
Social media, their parents, everybody around them.
Totally. Now, when I grew up, I didn't know a thing about global events except what I learned about in school. I couldn't have cared less about politics. But
Right.
these days, for the reasons you gave, social media, kids are exposed to this stuff, so they'll have some opinion. So, yes, 340 million Americans. What's the best way to run America? What are you going to get?
All sorts of different answers. You'll probably get more Democrat, more Republican, Libertarian, those kind of views.
You actually named the top three based on membership numbers. The
Mhm.
Democrat Party is tops. Republicans are close second. Libertarians number three. So you're right. You're going to get a plethora of opinions, but mostly falling in those three categories. So let's drill down a little bit. In the United States, we have the Democrats and the Republicans generally running things, right?
Mhm.
Now, these days, who's in charge?
Oh, we get the president, the House of Representatives, the senators.
Perfect. Which
those
party?
people. I mean, right now it's Republican Party.
Today, yeah, and by the way, but for the folks watching or listening, today is February 11th, 2026. So which party's in power?
The Republican Party.
Who's happy?
The Republicans.
Most of them. Now, some of them are not digging some of the stuff Trump is doing.
Right.
They're not a fan of all the warships going around the world. They're not a fan of maybe the tariffs. But you're right. Most people, most Republicans are happy right now. Who is absolutely miserable right now?
The Democrats.
The Democrats. Now, 2 years ago, who was happy?
The Democrats.
They were ecstatic. In
Right.
fact, they were sure that there was no way a convicted felon was going to win the election twice, right? So Biden was doing fine. Inflation was getting better. Prices were going down. Jobs were good. We weren't at war, really. I mean, not, major wars. Kamala was great. She was a shoo-in in November. But that didn't happen, right? But 2 years ago, the Democrats are ecstatic. Republicans are miserable. Republicans are like, you know what? If we don't win this election, there's going to be a civil war. The illegal immigration's just going to run rampant and it's going to be awful. And it's Armageddon, right?
Right.
So the point is, half the country all the time is either happy or miserable. Do you think that's efficient?
No.
Pretty easy answer, right?
Yeah.
And it's a pretty stupid system if you think about it. And I'm sure the founding fathers and the founding people, I'm sure they didn't say, "Oh, let's create a society where, we're constantly fighting each other, we constantly disagree, and we're constantly using governmental power to make rules for the rest of the country."
Right.
But that's what we have today. So half the country is always going to be miserable. Half the country is always going to be happy. And really, it's getting worse. I think over the last 25 years, after the Bush-Gore election, where they spent 35 some days recounting the votes in Florida, I think that really started a big divide politically. 24-hour news has furthered that divide because we are so much more informed now than we were before. And you mentioned social media, even for adults, and you mentioned for kids, but adults, we are so much more aware. So my proposition is there's going to be a change. Democrats are miserable right now. They want a big change. Republicans were miserable 2 years ago. They know they need a change. Even though the Republicans are happy right now, there is going to be a Democrat eventually Could be in 2 years. We don't know.
Right.
Historically, though, 50% of all presidents since 1934 have been Republican and 50% are Democrats. So
Wow.
odds are half the time, or excuse me, all the time, it's going to be one or the other.
Right.
Okay. So with that as a background, let's get into what I call the 4 pillars of freedom. The 4 pillars of freedom is what will make a perfect society. All right. Now they build on each other. Pillar 1 is the most important, so we're going to spend the most time on that. Pillar 2 builds on pillar 1. If you don't have pillar 1, you can't have pillar 2. If you don't have 1 and 2, you can't have 3. So as we go up to pillar 4, we're going to spend less time on 2, even less time on 3, even pillar 4 is probably going to take 30 seconds. Okay. So we're going to spend the most time on pillar 1 because it's the most important. Pillars 1 and 2 are mindsets. All it is a state of mind, right? And if we have enough agreement among Americans that pillars 1 and 2 are good ideas, we're already there. Pillar 3 and 4 is the government. And if we have the right mindset, if we accept a perfect society, the government part's a piece of cake. Okay.
Right.
It's another reason we're going to spend more time on pillar 1 and a little bit on two. Okay. So pillar 1 is called We the People. Now I've got another question for you, and this one's going to be harder. You might not know this. How many people do you think run America?
I mean, it's the president, the House of Representatives, and the senators. So 500 something people.
It is very rare I get that specific an answer. I'm very impressed, Lindsay. It's 536.
Okay.
Regardless of who's in power, Republicans,
Right.
Democrats, doesn't matter. Like you said, 1 president, 100 senators, 435 members of the House of Representatives, 536 people run a country of 340 million. Now we can debate whether that, and I don't like to debate. I like to discuss.
Right.
We can discuss whether or not that's a good idea. We
Right.
do have a democratic voting process using an electoral college. So one could say that democracy is part of our fabric, and that's fantastic because we, the people, choose those leaders. Sort of. Republicans choose Republicans, Democrats choose Democrats, but and then
Right.
we find out who is the winner in the wash, right? Because the 100% aren't going to vote for one person.
Right.
Okay. Now, would it surprise you to know that 536 people, now, by the way, just to clarify, we got 9 Supreme Court justices, but they don't make laws. They're supposed to enforce them.
Right.
We've got governors, we've got mayors of all the states, we've got city council people within our cities. And granted, states and cities have some rights apart from the 536. But mostly, all 50 states follow whatever the feds are doing in many things, maybe most things. So even though states and cities have their own leeway, they're really following Trump right now.
Right.
And even the ones that don't want to, like Minneapolis, Trump can kind of force their hand because he has federal authority. Okay. So the mayors and governors, city council people, Supreme Court, they don't count. All the bureaucrats, the thousands, maybe tens of thousands of bureaucrats that work in the federal offices and city offices, again, they're just enforcing what the 536 say. Now, would it surprise you that 536 people is 0.000016% of our population?
That's a very small percentage.
It's insane. Is it diverse?
I don't know. Probably not.
Not at all. I mean, 536 cannot represent 340 million.
Right.
Is it efficient? Again, that's debatable. I say no, because I say, and this is pillar 1, 340 million minds are more powerful than 536. I don't care who you are. I don't care what the decisions are, except let's say we're trying to find a brain surgeon. If you get 536 of the top brain surgeons in the world versus 340 million everyday people, I'll pick the 536.
Right.
But running the government is not brain surgery. Some people think it is, but by the time you and I are finished, I think you're going to agree with me that a lot of things they do, we can do. And we can do better because there's a lot more of us and we can have discussions among us and find the best ways to do things. So pillar one is we the people. It says three things. All Americans matter. All Americans have a voice if they want to use it. And all Americans can do better than 536. Now, the 536 are included. They're included in the 340 million. So in the perfect society, we're not going to get rid of Obama and Trump and Biden and Harris's opinions. We want their opinions. And there's a lot of people that are still going to agree with them. And that's totally fine. The thing is, they're not going to be the ones running things. It's going to be the happy party. Because in the perfect society, everybody's happy. So there is now a federally registered political party called the Happy Party who are going to be elected and who are going to make sure the four pillars of freedom are in place. When the four pillars of freedom are in place, we have a perfect society. The good news is all those politicians I just mentioned are going to run to the Happy Party as soon as they hear about it because they want what's best for America. I truly believe they do, or at least most of them. Yeah, arguably some of them might be corrupt, right? Some of them might like the power and the money and the attention and all that. But I think most people mostly do most good things most of the time. I think our politicians are the same. So when Barack Obama and Donald Trump hear about the Happy Party, they're going to flock over to it. And if they don't, then we might learn something about their real motivations because in the Happy Party, the Democrats get their way. The Republicans get their way. Libertarians get their way. The Green Party gets their way. The Constitutionalists get their way. Unaffiliated people get their way. Religious people get their way. Non-religious people get their way. Political people get their way. Non-political people, you see where we're going with this.
Yes.
In the Happy Party, everybody's happy and everybody wins. That's why I titled my book, Everybody's Happy, Everybody Wins, How to Build a Perfect Society.
Right.
So the mindset of pillar one simply says, if enough of us want to run the government, we can. Now, let me add a caveat. How many Americans do you think really want to run the government?
Probably not a lot.
Not a lot, because they're busy. They've already got jobs. They're busy at home. You know, they go to work, and then they want to come home, spend their time with their family, watch a little bit of Netflix, and then they repeat it the next day, right?
Right.
Now, even those people, maybe they spend an hour or two a week contributing to something in the government that they're passionate about. That's totally fine. I'm not talking about full-time jobs because when we have the four pillars of freedom, we don't need full-time government officials because the pillars run the country, not the politicians. The pillars are principles, not policies, not power, not posturing, not pressure, principles. Principles are the correct P. That's how you get a perfect society. So pillar one says, we the people. All Americans matter, all Americans have a voice, and all Americans can run things, not 536. All right. Are you cool with that so far?
Yeah.
I'm not trying to convince you, by the way. If you're in that 10%,
right.
you tell me, and maybe I can, explain it a little differently. I'm not trying to convince you at all.
No, it all makes a lot of sense. What you're
You sure?
saying. Yes,
You're
I'm
cool?
probably,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah.
And remember, we're not getting rid of those 536. We can still have a
Right.
president. We can still have senators. We can still have House of Representatives. We can still have Trump. We can still have George Bush. We can still have Obama and Biden and Kamala. All those people are participants because they're all Americans.
Right.
They're all part of it. And the Americans that want to follow those people, they can still as long as Trump, Obama, and Harris are following the 4 pillars of freedom.
Right.
Got it? Okay. So if they convert to the happy party and they still want to be president and senators, that's totally cool. All right. So that's pillar 1. Pillar 2 is this. In order to have a perfect society, do you think, Lindsay, that it would be better to force people to do certain things? Or do you think it's better to give people freedom to choose?
I mean, it's a pretty easy answer. Freedom to choose is always going to outweigh the forcefulness.
Why?
I mean, people don't like being forced to do things or told to do things. They would rather use their agency to choose their own path.
Exactly. Exactly. And we know we can choose our own path because we choose who we date. We choose who we marry. We choose whether or not we go to church. We choose where we work. We choose what we spend our money on. We choose what car we drive. We choose what toothpaste to buy. We make millions and millions of choices in our lives. There's only 2 that we don't choose. And those are the 2 that the government chooses for us. Now, this is a little harder, Lindsay. You might not have thought of this before, but what are those 2 things that the government does that we don't do?
Declare war.
Declare war. That's one. Yes.
Taxes. Sending money to different countries. I don't know. I haven't really thought about what those 2 choices could be.
You got the umbrella of both choices.
Right.
All those things that you mentioned fall under 2 categories. They take money from us and spend it the way they want.
Right.
So there's your taxes and sending money over to other countries and war to a degree. And they make laws.
Right.
Sorry, I just had a little pop up there. Can you see me?
Yeah.
Okay. They make laws and they take money out of our pockets to pay for things. That's why a lot of people are miserable in this country, especially the Democrats. The Democrats don't like Trump's policies. They don't like his laws. They don't like what he's doing with our money. They don't like that he's closed down Sesame Street. They don't like that he's taken us out of the G8 summit, or I don't know all these things. I don't watch the news, but over in Europe, they have this what do you call it? Where they do the environmental stuff, and Trump took us out of that. They don't like that stuff, right? But wouldn't they be happier if they paid money to be represented in those places?
Right. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. What was the first thing I said Sesame Street. I did a spotlight on my YouTube channel specifically about Sesame Street and Doge. And if you remember, this has been a year already, been about a year. Elon Musk ran the Doge department, DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency. And he went through, and a bunch of other people too went through and said, look, this is money we're spending that we don't need to spend money on. We're going to cut this, we're going to cut that, we're going to cut that. They're cutting a lot of things, and they cut NPR funding, which is Sesame Street. So a lot of Democrats are freaking out. They're like, dude, Sesame Street's been around for 60 years. It's a great program. We need it funded. So the brilliant answer is, Lindsay, they can pay for it. They don't need Trump's approval. They don't need Trump's permission. They've been paying for it these last 60 years anyway. It's come out of their taxes. So instead of being mad at Trump, join the happy party and say, look, pillar 1, we, the people, can run things. We, the people, can fund Sesame Street. If Trump doesn't want to do it through taxes, we will do it voluntarily. Now, I'll get to taxes in a minute because taxes is a big deal. So hold on taxes for a minute. That's pillar 3, actually.
Right.
So pillar 2 says we have the freedom to make choices. Pillar 1 says we, the people, matter. We, the people, have a voice. We, the people, do not need to rely on 536 people to run things. So the Democrats and the Republicans who are upset about Sesame Street can fund it. They need to change their mindset. Remember I said pillar 1 and 2 is a mindset?
Yes.
This is where I'm talking about. We have been lulled to sleep as a country for at least the last 120 years into thinking the government's going to take care of everything for us. Everything that we don't choose, like our toothpaste flavors and our mates in the church and all that stuff, right? That we talk about.
Right.
But all these other things, we don't need to do that. We can pay for things ourselves. If we want to send money to Ukraine to support the war, we, the people, can do that. The government's not going to do it under the guise of the United States of America. The government's not going to be a part of that in the happy party. But if you, for example, want to support Ukraine, you want to send them money and guns, go for it. But don't ask Trump or Biden to do it, because they're not going to do it under the happy party. They're not
Right.
going to do it. You want to send aid to Africa, Ethiopia, wherever, you can do it. Organize on social media. Social media is a great thing for this kind of stuff. So organizing, we the people, feeling like we have the power to make changes in the world, that's where it happens. Okay. So freedom, not force, is pillar number 2. We have force in this country. We as a country use force. Not all the time, and we've got a lot of freedoms here. We really do. More than most countries, probably. But there is force. You actually mentioned 2 of the big ones. I don't know if you remember, but you did. What do you think 2 of the major uses of force are in the United States?
I mean, war, I think is
War
what
is one.
I said before. And I mean, forcing us to pay taxes. Is that what
That's
it was?
it. That's
Okay.
it. You got it. They force us to pay taxes. They force our ideals in war. Now, some people out there in YouTube land and podcasts, they're, oh, Curt, you're nitpicking. Nah. I don't mind that they force taxes because I like my taxes. I like the things I get. I do too. I do too. But it is force. Try not paying your taxes and you'll find out. In fact, it is force at gunpoint. Oh, Curt, that's just crazy. You're being dramatic. No, I'm not. Check this out. You don't pay your taxes. You know what happens, Lindsay?
The IRS comes knocking down your door.
Before they get to your door, what are they going to do?
Send you a bunch of emails, call you, bug the crap out of you to get your taxes.
And they're also going to add a few penalties on top of your taxes because you paid them late.
Right.
What do you think is going to happen if you ignore all that stuff?
They could ask you to go to court.
They could send you a subpoena.
Right.
You get a subpoena to go to court. You don't show up at court. What do you think happens?
They send cops to your door.
They send cops to your door because
Oh
you have
my
not
goodness.
complied with the law. What if you don't open the door for the cops?
They knock it down and pull you out.
They break it down. Now, before they pull you out, what if you resist arrest? Better yet, what if you start fighting with them? What's going to happen?
I guess they could pull out their gun and force you to go with them.
You got it. We pay taxes at gunpoint. We are forced to pay taxes with a gun in our face. Now, again, I am not saying taxes are bad. I'm not saying the taxable services are bad. I love most of them. But I don't like having a gun in my face and having to do it. I don't like seeing my tax dollars go to certain places around the world. Other places are fine. But there's certain places I don't want to see them go to. I think it's inefficient. I think it's a bad idea. And the other 340 million Americans feel exactly the way I do. The way Trump does it, the way Biden does it, doesn't matter. At some point, each one of those 340 million Americans is going to be pissed off about where their tax money is going to.
Right.
And statistically speaking, it's half the time they're going to be upset. Why? Because half the time are Republicans in charge, half the time the Democrats in charge. And it's going to be that way until we die, unless we make a change. And the best change is to say, hey, Let the Republicans do their Republican things as long as it complies with the 4 pillars. And let the Democrats do the Democrat policies as long as it complies with the 4 pillars. As long as they're not forcing us to do it, it's cool. Obamacare is cool, unless he's making me pay for it at the point of a gun. Trump's wall, it's cool. We can talk about immigration later. That's a whole different issue. But let's say, the wall is a part of the 4 pillars, right? It's cool. But let's not make Democrats pay for it. They don't like it, right? So pillar number 1 is what? We the people. All of us matter. All of us have a voice if we want to use it. By the way, our voice, if we want to follow Trump, that's still a voice. We're saying, hey, my voice is, let's let that guy make the decisions. Let's let Obama make the decisions, and Biden and Harris. That's a choice. That's a voice. And we're all better off making our own decisions rather than just a small, teeny tiny 0.00016%. By the way, let's go back to those percentages again. I asked you, how many Americans do you think would take part in some government? And you said maybe not a lot. And I agree. Give me a percentage. Just throw out your best guess. It's non-scientific. What do you think?
1% would dedicate some good time to it. I mean, it just depends. I feel like a lot of people wouldn't want to have responsibility like that, but I don't know.
I can do the 1% if I could do quick math. Let's go with 5%.
Hey.
Because I know the math on that one. I did it before we got on the call together.
Oh, okay.
If 5% of 340 million people took part in some government thing, again, not a full-time position, some government thing part-time or full-time if they want, 17 million people. 17 million people is 5% of this whole country. So 17 million versus 536, which would you choose?
Probably the 17 million.
Yeah, so because we're not talking about brain surgeons here.
Right.
We're talking about running your library. We're talking about building a park. We're talking about filling potholes on the road. And yes, we're talking about war and immigration and abortion, and those are the major issues. But those major issues can easily be answered with the 4 pillars. So we're not talking about brain surgery. We're talking about everyday stuff. We're talking about, hey, this side road could use a stop sign. Let's put a stop sign in. Oh, well, instead of the red tape of going through city council and getting the mayor's approval and let's just freaking stick it in because we care, because it's our neighborhood.
Right.
And we can put it in there because it's not hurting anybody. It's helping us in our neighborhood. So, all right. So 5% is 17 million. Okay. Let's go on to pillar 3. Are you good with everything?
Yeah.
Makes sense so far?
Yes.
Okay. And again, you don't like it, that's fine. I'm still going to tell you everything else.
Right.
But again, if you have questions, interrupt me.
Okay.
Interrupt me as we go. Well, how would this work? How would that work? I should have told you that when we first started. Sorry.
That's all right.
Okay. Now pillar 3 is an extension of pillar 2. What was pillar 2 again?
Pillar 2 is like we have the choice. We do what we want to do.
Not a gunpoint.
Yeah. Not a gun.
Freedom, not force.
Yes.
We talked about taxes, right?
Yes.
If we agree, we the people agree on pillar 1 and we agree on pillar 2, we agree that freedom is better than force. How do we then pay our taxes?
I don't know, you decide like on social media if it's a good cause and you can donate.
You can donate. That's called voluntary funding. We pay taxes with voluntary funding because taxes are important. A military is important. Roads are important. Schools are important. Stop signs are important. Obamacare is important. Anything you can think of that our taxes pay for is important to somebody.
Right.
But we don't like to be paying for it at the point of a gun. So we get on social media, like you said, because now with social media, we can contact anybody in the world in a second. So we can build Facebook groups, we can build our own platform, we can build our own app for whatever. But we can voluntarily pay for taxes. Now that may sound radical to some people, but if you take them through those first 2 pillars, and if they agree with the first 2 pillars, they have to agree with pillar 3, which is voluntary funding. Like it or not, money runs our lives. Money is at the foundation of our personal lives. It's at the foundation of our social lives. It's the foundation of our national lives. It's not love. It's not association. It's money. Money is at the base of everything. And if money is healthy, then everything else that comes after that is healthy. So voluntary funding. Now, there's 3 ways to pay taxes. Number 1, some people are totally fine with the way the taxes are now. They don't mind it coming out of their paycheck. They don't mind paying property taxes. Lindsay, you're a business owner, right? Are you? I think. Are you a business owner?
Yeah, I'm a business owner.
Okay, I thought you were. And you can pay taxes quarterly, or you can wait until April 15th. You can pay them all in one lump sum, but eventually you're going to have to pay for them.
Right.
So whatever method we the people use, if they like the method, they can keep it. Furthermore, if they like how much is coming out, how much they're paying, they can keep it. Furthermore, if they like where that money goes, they can keep it. So that's their voluntary choice though, see,
Right.
that's not the law. So they choose to keep it exactly the same. So that's the first group. The second group doesn't mind how it's being paid. Again, every 2 weeks out of your paycheck, out of your property taxes, out of your business funding, however you're going to do it. But they want to choose what it goes to. They can have the money automatically taken out the way they always have, except they get to choose where it goes.
Right.
I have the idea. I haven't built it yet. It's a website and an app called Easy Tracker. And Easy Tracker I've made 2 videos of it on my channel. By the way, they're both like 2 minutes long because Easy Tracker is easy.
Right.
Remember when I said in the very beginning, I could tell you the perfect society in 5 minutes, but I kind of want to fill in blanks.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, this is another thing. Easy Tracker is easy. Easy Tracker is where you can go. You can see all of your city taxes, state taxes, county taxes, federal taxes, all the things that those entities want to pay for. And you can pick and choose what you're paying for. Transportation, schools, military, whatever. And you can allocate how much money goes to each thing. You could also decide if it's an automatic payment or if it's a manual payment that you make.
Right.
It even tracks who's paying it and when. Now, I advise using a username because you probably don't want to put your personal name on there. Oh, Lindsay's paying such and such. Curt Derby's paying such and such. Right? Use a username. Keep yourself private.
Right.
But you can see exactly where your money went. Better yet, all of these things that I mentioned, all of the taxable services, there's a balance on there with how much they being we the people, think that we need to pay for this stuff. And just like a spreadsheet, it keeps a running tally of what's been pledged, what's been received, and what the current balance is. And once the current balance is paid for, you as a taxpayer can either stop paying for that service for now, or you can pay into it and create a surplus.
Right.
This is another problem Americans are angry with. They don't know where their freaking money is going. They hear about government fraud all the time on both parties.
Right.
Both parties are guilty of it. They're stealing our tax money to do whatever the heck they want, or they're putting it in their pocket. People aren't as upset about that as they should be. Because they're not only are they taking money at the point of a gun, they're putting it in your pocket and putting it in their pocket. What is that called?
Right. Fraud.
Fraud and
Stealing.
theft.
Yes.
They're stealing our freaking money and putting it. Are you kidding me? Oh, Curt, I'm too busy. I can't worry about that. I got to watch Netflix. I'm not making fun of people. I'm just saying what the reality is. But Easy Tracker tracks all the taxable services, all the money and where it goes. So let's wrap up pillar 3. We have people that can pay their taxes voluntarily exactly the same way they've been paying them. And I think most people would stay here. I think most people don't want to mess around with it. That's my opinion. I could be wrong. There are some people that like the method of payment, but they want to choose where it goes.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's people like me who want to make it all voluntary.
Right.
I want to get on Easy Tracker and I want to pay it when I want to pay. I'll probably make automatic payments. I think I'll make automatic monthly payments. That's the way I deal with my bills. That's the way I deal with my charity payments. It would
Just
be easy for me. Pardon me?
It's just easier.
That's way easier. Yeah. Automate it. And I would set up where my money goes federally, citywide, statewide, countywide, whatever. And I'll make it automated. So those are the 3 ways we can do it voluntarily. There's a 4th way that I mentioned in the book, and I'm not going to go into too much detail now. But if you want to avoid these 3, here's a super fun way to do it. Think of some creative ways to get tax money. I'll give you a perfect example. I would imagine Barack Obama is super passionate about Obamacare. Would you
Right.
agree with me?
Probably, yes.
They named the freaking bill after it.
Yeah.
Right? The Affordable Care Act is Obamacare.
Yeah.
So if I'm Barack Obama, I'm passionate about Obamacare and I want it to work. So you know what I'm going to do if I'm Barack Obama? I'm going to hold a telethon twice a year. I'm going to get musical acts and comedians and sketch comedy and whatever that also want Obamacare to flourish. I'm going to say, hey, look, July 4th, we're going to have our next telethon. Would you like to be a guest? And we're going to run it for 12 hours. And we're going to broadcast it on wherever, Netflix, whatever's going to broadcast it. And we're going to ask people to send in money. We're going to ask people to pledge money. America's been using telethons for decades.
Right.
Why don't we? And Live Aid. You've heard of Live Aid back from 1985.
That's before my time.
No, that's okay. Live Aid was this concert. There was one in the United States and one in England. I think it was London and Philadelphia. I forget. But they got all these bands together. And I think it was like a 2 or 3 day thing.
Oh, wow.
And all these bands U2 was there, Queen was there, Led Zeppelin was there, like all the big name bands. And they performed and people tuned in because they wanted to see these bands. And in between the acts, they would talk about Live Aid, which was, feeding kids in Africa, kids, I think around the world too, but more specifically Africa. Hey, can you pledge some money? Can you send in some money? People get hyped up about that. They see these acts playing and they get in the spirit of giving. So we need telethons. That's the 4th way to pay taxes. Is
Right.
we can do it through the paycheck system and the property tax system. That's fine. That's cool. We can also think of other bake sales, Kickstarters. There in my book, I put in, I don't know, maybe 20 different ideas on how else we can do it. And again, we the people are creative. When we're passionate, we're motivated. We can get these taxable services paid lickety split. And without the government middleman, it'll be cheaper. Roads will be cheaper. Schools will be cheaper. Okay. So pillar 1 is what again? Can you remember?
We the people.
We the people should be allowed to decide how things are run. What's the second way? Second pillar.
Freedom, not force.
Freedom, not force, because everybody wants to be free. Third pillar is
Voluntary funding.
voluntary funding. Perfect. And the 4th pillar is just a piece of cake. It's the laws. What are the laws? Because we need laws. Without
Right.
laws, we are chaos. So the laws in the happy party, the laws in the perfect society only fall under 4 categories. The first 2 are super quick and easy. Child protection laws. All the child protection laws that we have on the books stay, period. If they need to be reviewed throughout the 4 pillars and we need to take a few out, that's fine. But let's default to let's keep all the child protection laws. I think we agree on that.
Yes.
You and me and we the people. I mean, we got to
Yes,
protect
yes.
we got to protect the most innocent among us.
For sure.
The other ones that stay are travel laws. I don't think too many people are complaining about the speed limit laws that we have, stop signs that we have, stuff like that. Air traffic, I think we're all probably pretty cool with. You can't drive a tank on the road.
Right.
Travel laws.
Yeah.
So all the travel laws stay. So those are easy. The next one is laws of theft. Now this is where things change a little bit. In the happy party, what is pillar 2 again?
Freedom, not force.
So we can't force anybody to do thing unless it's hurting somebody else.
Right.
And hurting somebody else always falls under a theft. Check this out. Murder is theft of what?
Life.
Your whole life. Rape is theft of what?
Innocence.
A woman's right to choose what happens to her body,
Yeah.
or a man if a man's raped.
Right.
When I steal your car, what's that theft of?
The car.
The car, property. Yeah, personal property. If you and I make a business deal and I purposely lie to you up front and I rip you off, what's that called?
I mean, it's stealing as well, like hurting your friendship, hurting your promise.
It's fraud.
Yeah.
On paper, it's fraud. You're right, hurting the friendship too. That could be subjective, but yeah, it's fraud. I've committed fraud against you. And if you can prove it in court, you're going to win a court case. So you see, all of the laws that we should have, besides these two, child laws and travel laws, laws of theft. If there's no theft, there should be no law. And this is where we might want to go through our law books and find those laws and get rid of them.
Right.
Just get rid of them. All right. The fourth law is real quick. It's called administrative laws. These are the laws that don't fall into these three. These are the laws that the happy party needs to decide using Pillar 1 for certain limited functions of our country. For example, how often do we print money? That's an administrative law.
Right.
What about voting? How does voting work? That's an administrative law because it doesn't fall under all the other pillars of freedom and all that. So, yeah, the other pillars of freedom. You can't really break that down. Another one is immigration, because if you run immigration through the 4 pillars of freedom, it's really hard to get agreement. Most policies, most ideas, all you got to do is run them through the 4 pillars, and that'll give you your answer as to
Right.
whether or not it's a perfect society. Right. But the administrative laws is kind of the catch-all. Those are the things that can't be answered. So that's your perfect society, Lindsay. We, the people, are a stronger, better, more efficient, less expensive, more passionate, more caring, more compassionate force than a tiny, 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 tiny group of people. Everybody wants freedom and not force. Voluntary funding is a better way to pay taxes and a more efficient way to get taxable services. And the laws have to be clear and simple so all Americans understand them and they fit these 3 principles.
Right.
There you go.
There it is. Sounds
That's
pretty
it.
simple.
Do you have any questions?
I mean, what's the first step to implementing this perfect society?
I love it. There's 3 ways it can happen. One is grassroots. Enough of us talk about it, enough of us get aware of it, enough of us get excited about it. And eventually, someone's going to run for office, whether it's a mayor, a governor, city council, probably on the smaller side of government. The second way is our mayor or our governor catches wind of the perfect society, the 4 pillars, and they say, oh my gosh, this is way better than the Republicans or the Democrats, because the Republicans or Democrats only helped half the people all the time. So I, as a Republican, want this because it's going to make my Republican stuff better. Or
Right.
I, as a Democrat, want this because it's going to make my Democrat stuff better. So that's the next level. The best level is if Donald Trump wakes up and he watches the YouTube channel with the perfect society, or he hears our interview. He's like, dude, I need to talk to Curt to bring him to the White House.
Right.
Because
would be
Trump
pretty
can
cool.
implement this stuff immediately.
Right.
Okay. Those are the 3 ways that it can happen. Remember, I have registered a federally recognized political party. It's called the Happy Party. Everybody's welcome in the Happy Party. Trump can leave the Republicans and come to the Happy Party. Obama can come to the Happy Party. And it's in their best interests. So the current politicians can come to the Happy Party. All Americans can come to the Happy Party because remember, everybody's happy, everybody wins. What
Yeah.
else you got? You got any challenges? You want to stump me on anything?
What happens if just people don't want to pay their taxes then? If
They don't pay them.
but what happens to the country if a lot of people don't want to pay taxes and then roads don't get fixed and schools don't get funded and yada yada? What happens then?
What do you think would happen?
You what?
What do you think would happen? I'm not trying to be combative. Just what do you think would happen?
Um, I I don't know. I just know that there are, I know that most people are good, but I do know that there are selfish people in the country who don't want to contribute. I mean, that's but that's all I know is like you have to do it and things get paid. So I don't know what would happen.
I'll answer your question in a minute, but why do you think people don't want to pay taxes? You just said it. A lot of people don't want to pay taxes. Why do you think?
They'd rather spend it on other things.
And what else, maybe?
And they don't like where their money is going, like we talked about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They think it's a waste of money.
Yeah.
And they're right. You ask any taxpayer, I think you'd be hard pressed to find one taxpayer that says, yeah, I like every place my tax money's going.
Right.
They don't like where it's going, so they don't want to pay taxes and they don't want to pay more taxes.
Right.
Because when you file your taxes, you can pay more. Did you know that?
No.
You can. There's a line on there. You can put in more money for taxes. I agree with you that I think nobody does that.
Right.
But they're already paying at the point of a gun, which they don't like.
Right.
And they already have stuff they're paying for that they don't like.
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask you this. And again, I'm not playing games with you here. I'm getting to your
For
question.
sure.
What do we do if nobody pays taxes? If you had more money in your pocket, what do you think you would spend it on first?
I mean, probably paying off bills like loans, debts, and then on to fun things like vacations and maybe getting a nicer car, that kind of stuff. I feel like people would relate to more.
You pay for your family and for your kids.
Yeah.
So would I. Now, at some point, once your debts are paid for, do you think you're going to be in a better mood?
Yeah.
If you're in a better mood, do you think you're going to see the world a little more than you're just going to see your household?
Yeah, I would definitely hope so.
You will, because your household's taken care of. There's no debt. Your kids are fed. You're planning vacations. Life is good. When we take care of ourselves first, it's easier to look outside and see what's going on outside. So if you see that the roads are bad, do you think you'd voluntarily pay for roads?
Yeah, I would.
I would too. And I think everybody else would too. And you know what? Those evil, rich, greedy, the horrible CEOs that we like to shake our fingers at, they're so greedy. I guarantee you, since they are the most philanthropic people as a whole, maybe not
Right.
individually, as a whole, they are very quickly going to step in and say, hey, this school needs paid for. Maybe one person in your city would pay for 2 or 3 schools because they got so much gobs of money, especially if they're not being forced to pay for other crap they don't like.
Right.
They're going to say, hey, instead of paying for all that crap, I'm going to pay for these 3 schools to run them on an annual basis. One person could take care of that.
Right.
By the way, let me get back to your question. What if nobody does it? Anytime I have this talk, I get that question. And usually what I lead with is, well, would you pay taxes?
I
Lindsay?
mean, yeah,
Yeah.
it's stuff
So,
that I wanted them to go to.
so I would pay taxes too. And I
Right.
go down the line. If I'm speaking in front of a group, I go down the line. I say, would you pay them? Would you pay them? Would you pay them? Everybody says yes.
That's good.
So that's 100%.
Right.
And 100% is not paying taxes now.
Right.
If you believe the statistics, it's something like 47% of people in America don't pay any taxes.
Hmm.
So we already don't have everybody paying them.
Yeah, that's interesting.
What other questions you got?
I mean, that was my big one. I mean, I think the mindset is the biggest thing. Like you said, that's why they're the number one and number two pillars. I think people are just so caught up in their ways and their own ideas that I think it'll be a little bit hard to convince some people, but I mean, like you said, it can go slowly, like with the grassroots and just spread slowly. But
I thought it,
well,
sorry, go ahead.
I just say I think it's a really cool concept.
I thought it would be hard too when I wrote it. When I wrote the book about a year and a half ago. And I thought, you know what? I'm an outlier. I'm an anomaly. Nobody's going to think like this. 90% of the people that I've had these conversations with, whether it's one-on-one or one-on-many, 90% are on board. 45% of them, half of them, I want to do this right away. How can I contribute to the happy party?
Right.
The other 45% says, yeah, I love your ideas, but you're not going to get the rest of the country to do it.
Right.
Which I say, don't worry about the rest of the country. Just worry about you. Do you like it? Oh, yeah. Okay. We got 90% that likes it. I've literally had 10% of the people, and these are rough numbers. I mean, I'm giving you, I don't
Right,
keep
of
a
course.
tally. This is my guess on how these are received. 10% want force. They love war. They love killing. They love forcing people to pay for things they want, right?
Hmm.
And I don't argue with them. I know they're going to come around eventually. I don't think they have a hard heart. I think they have a fearful heart. I think they're like, well, what if this? What if that? What if this? We're still going to have a military in the perfect society. We're still
Right.
going to have law and order. Everything will be fine. But
Right.
those 10%, I just say, I just leave alone, and I know they're going to come around because you're right. These might be new concepts. One final statistic on that. I forget where I saw this, whether it was, I think it was a Gallup poll. And I don't believe statistics. I don't believe polls, but I think they're an interesting jumping off point for conversation.
Mhm.
It said that in the United States, 46% of Americans identify as independent.
Really?
Isn't that amazing?
That's interesting.
I thought Republicans or Democrats would be that number, but it's
Yeah.
46%. Now they may be registered Republican or Democrat. I don't know. It doesn't,
Okay.
but it's what do you identify as? And it's
Right.
46% is independent. Do you know what percentage of America votes for the winning president every election?
I mean, probably at least 51% to make him president, but no. Okay. How much is it?
Much less.
Really?
Take a guess.
40%?
Nope.
30%?
Lower.
Oh my gosh, 20%?
23%.
Wow.
Every election since 1934, an average of 23% of America picks the winning president.
Interesting.
So 23% of America voted for Donald Trump. 23% of America voted for Joe Biden. Actually, Biden was higher. 23% voted for Barack Obama, 23 for George Bush. So we've been talking about inefficiencies in our current system. Is it efficient to have less than 1/4 of our population choose who the president is?
Yeah.
It's absurd. It's absurd.
Hmm.
Especially when pillar one, all of us can contribute. We all have a voice.
Right.
We all have a brain. So we can contribute good ideas. So if you take that 23% votes in the winning president and 46% identify themselves as independent, happy party's a shoo-in. Because I will tell you this, the people on the far left hate my ideas. The people on the far right hate my ideas. Maybe not all ideas, they hate pillar two.
Right.
People on the far left want to force people to pay for certain things. People on the far right love war. They love war. They love force. And they love to fund war. They love to. So the far ends, they don't like pillar two or pillar three, because pillar three is part of pillar two. They don't like the voluntary
Yeah.
funding. You need to pay for my thing. Well, if your thing was so great, you wouldn't need to force people to pay for it.
Right.
If the thing is great, it stands alone. And you can lobby for it. You can ask people to pay for your thing.
Yeah.
So my answer to your question is it's easy to get this thing started.
Right. Okay.
How are we on time?
I think we're good. I I
I know
mean,
your time is limited.
yeah, I have my baby just started crying in the other room, so
No.
we have a few minutes. We can let
Well,
her just hang out for a second.
well, if you're sure, let me give you one
Yeah.
more quick thing. And if you think of
Okay.
something else, let me know. If you think
Okay.
you can stay on, I could talk about this for days, but I've given you the 4 pillars of freedom. The 4 pillars of freedom is it.
Right.
What is your favorite policy? Not yours specifically, but
Right.
America. What is your favorite policy? Run it through the 4 pillars. If it matches all 4 pillars, it matches the happy party. Now, let's say you want to be dictated to. Let's say you love communism. Let's say you love socialism. A lot of people do. If you can elect a socialist representative that you want to give your money to, let's say there's 10 million people that are socialists. There's probably more than that. Let's say there's 50 million socialists in this country and they want socialism, but that darn Donald Trump keeps getting in the way. And that darn Biden was more socialist, but not as socialist as we want because he wasn't pure socialist. But we want socialism. You 50 million people, you pick a socialist leader. Whatever, y'all run for office, run for social. It's not going to be an official happy party governmental position because the happy party's in charge now. And the happy party says freedom, not force. Socialism is force, most of it. But you want socialism, you can have it. Pick a socialist person that you send all your money to. Let them make decisions about your 50 million policies that you want, and you can get it. You like communism? Same thing. I don't know. Let's say there's 30 million people that want communism. Sweet. Elect a communist group because communism has a group of so-called leaders. You can have it. You can be a communist in the United States under a happy party. You just can't force everybody else to be a communist.
Right.
You can't force everybody else to be a socialist. You can choose to be a socialist. You can choose to be a communist. Pillar 2. You can choose to send your money there to these communists and socialists. Pillar 3. So communists can be communists, socialists can be socialists, capitalists can be capitalists, free people can be free people. Whatever ism you can think of, you got it. You just can't violate the whole rest of the country with your ism.
Right.
One more quick thing. I told you this can take place in less than 2 years. Here's how that works. It all starts with money. Remember when I said money is the foundation of everything, our personal lives, our social lives, our national lives? Pillar 3, here's how Pillar 3 is installed. The happy party president's installed. Let's say it's you. You run for happy party president, you get elected. You get elected in November, just like always. Remember, I said everything's going to stay the same except for a few small tweaks. You're elected in November. January 1st, you publicly say, hey guys, hey country, June 1st, in 6 months, we're going to start Pillar 3, where it's voluntary funding. But we know it might be a shock to some of you. So we're not going to go cold turkey into this thing. June 1st, we are going to cut 25% of all taxable services. 75% is still going to be funded the way it's always been funded. 25% cut June 1st. And then 3 months later, help me out, July, August, September. September 1st, we're going to cut another 25%. So September 1st, 50% is going to get funded the way it's always been funded. 3 months later, December 1st, we're going to cut another 25%. And then 3 months later, March 1st, April 1st, whatever. Another, sorry, I just went against my book. I think it's every 6 months. I forget. I think
Right.
it's a year, whatever, forget.
Okay.
The point is, in a year, we are going to be full voluntary funding. But until we get to that point, you, America, are going to get used to the idea. You're going to get used to the idea so that it's not just a big shock. So that's why in less than 2 years, the perfect society will exist because everything's based on money and the money thing is Pillar 3. And Pillar 3 is not going to happen immediately, but over time, so that everyone gets used to it. And once everyone's used to it, they're not going to want to turn back.
That's cool.
That's it.
Okay.